Hello folks, I'm Ed Blackburn, and this is Ed Blackburn Reports for San Angelo Live. Hello folks, this is Ed Blackburn for San Angelo Live and Ed Blackburn Reports. And with me is a very famous man. This fella is Dr. James Phelps, and he has written a book with some of his colleagues about border security, and it is absolutely stunning. Welcome.
Hey, thanks, Ed, for having me. Appreciate it.
And this is your book.
This is the book. And it's on border security. It's just called Border Security, no subtitles. And I wrote it with Dr. Jeff Daly and Dr. Monica Kenningsberg. They're co-authors, and they both work here at Angelo State with me.
And this is just brand new out, right?
This book is so hot off the presses. We just received our copies on Friday of last week. That's how new these are.
And what's in the book? 420 pages?
I'd say 420 pages. Yeah, that's about right. But that counts the index. You got to have an index in a book. And so, there's a good 30 pages of index in there.
Yes, and what you explained to me a little bit earlier when we were talking is that this is kind of a holistic approach to the border security systems and maybe potholes. In America's border security.
Right. Border security is not just the southern border or the Canadian border, and it's not just our harbors and ports of entry and international airports. Border security affects every single country in the world. It doesn't matter where they're at. Even island nations like Australia and New Zealand have major issues with securing their borders. So we tried to write this book from the perspective of the bigger picture. What's the worldview? How has it developed over the centuries and in some cases the millennium? How did we get to where we are today? What's going on for real on the American borders? Where are the American borders? I love that one because as soon as somebody asks me where the border is, I say it's in Des Moines, Iowa. Des Moines, Iowa. It has an international airport. There are Border Patrol and Department of Homeland Security, Customs and Border Protection officers that work in Des Moines, Iowa because it has an international airport. So it's technically part of the United States border. And so we talk about those kinds of subjects, those issues. It's not just an issue that affects Texans or people from New Mexico and Arizona and Southern California. This is an issue that affects everybody in the country. Every state has an international airport. Every state that's on the coast has a maritime port of entry. There are states interior to the country that have maritime seaports on the Mississippi River, yet they'd have no access to the sea except for the Mississippi River. Yet they're international ports of entry and they're seaports. So we look at the issue of border security holistically, the big picture, the overall picture, and then we bring it down into a more narrow perspective. There's supposed to be a river that delineates the difference between Mexico and the United States when it comes to Texas. It is supposed to run from just north of El Paso all the way down to Brownsville. For about 2/3 of the length of that river, the water level is so low you can walk across it, and in many places you can walk across it and never get wet. And there's no fences, there's no gates, there's no barriers, there's no walls. You can walk across the border. And there's no effort made to secure huge chunks of the border we have with Mexico. So you have a constant flow.
Is that a federal thing?
I think it's both federal and state. It's not strictly federal. A lot of the problem is federal. There's no doubt about that. And it varies from administration to administration. And as you and I talked about before we had the interview, even under the George Bush administration, there were calls from everybody saying, we need to secure our borders. Absolutely nothing was done to effectively secure the borders. The only thing that was done was made travel harder for people who legally cross the borders. That's what they did.
Do we have illegals coming in from other nations other than just Mexico?
We do. We have a lot of them. We have Chinese, Mongolians, Southeast Asians, Central Asians, people who speak languages and dialects that are extremely unique and very difficult to find people to translate for them. We have Muslims and Arabs from Middle Eastern countries, including known terrorist states. We have South Americans, Central Americans, Africans, and even Europeans, hard as that is to believe, that are illegally trying to get into the United States. And they're all caught 160 miles south of here, right on the border. And a lot of them aren't caught.
Tell me about your colleagues that wrote this book with you.
Dr. Jeff Daly, he was originally here working in the Border and Homeland Security component here we have at Angelo State University with me, and then as of this upcoming summertime and fall semester, he's shifting full-time into the intelligence, security studies, and analysis side of the house, where he will be teaching in that field exclusively, and no longer on the other side where I'm at, which is Border and Homeland Security. Dr. Kenningsberg just got promoted to associate professor and just received her tenure, and she's the only female faculty member in our department, and she teaches primarily in the criminal justice side of the house, which is everything from law enforcement to corrections, theory, all of that kind of stuff.
Dr. James Phelps, thank you very much for your time, and I hope to talk to you again about some other issues. And I am looking forward to reading this book, Border Security. And this is a textbook, you said.
It is a textbook. It's intentionally written in a textbook format for use in colleges by college students and professors. But it is an excellent read for anybody who really wants to look at the border as a whole, from a holistic perspective. Whether you're in government or just a concerned citizen, you might find this to be very enlightening as a good book to read. It's not an inexpensive book, because like most good college textbooks, it's a lot cheaper than most college textbooks, okay? My son is a physics major, and it's not unusual to pay $200 a book for his books. This book is $68 and 400 plus pages in length with color photographs and images in it, and that's a darn good price for a college textbook these days.
Dr. Phelps.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. I appreciate it, and it's good to be working with San Angelo Live.